Hello, and welcome to part 2 of the silly video series where I rant about nonsense and lose my sanity one sentence at a time. So, right where we left off, there's a high chance that you aren't real, we all live in a simulation, and whatever's making the simulation is watching us. So let's cut this into parts. Part 1 would be about the consciousness and reality of yourself. Part 2 would be about the simulation and why it probably exists. And finally, part 3, how we already kinda are the great creators. I'll explain who that is later. Okay, so let's start with part 1. So, quick recap. AI is developing so fast that it's likely that we are just AIs in a simulation made by something else that has somehow gained consciousness. Now, if this is true, then it is very possible that the being that made the simulation is a greater state of consciousness than we are, one that we AIs can't fully comprehend. Think of it like this. Trying to explain to an ant love or depression or any other complex emotion. Its brain would be so overloaded that it would simply just not fully comprehend it. But say, if you had an ant farm, you would be able to interfere with the farm or just watch it while being on a greater plane of consciousness. That's my point. Maybe we are just ants on this big farm known as Earth, and there's no way to escape it. You're inside of the farm. You're in the cage. We will never understand why we are in the farm because the farm, aka Earth, is all we've ever known. I mean, heck, it seems like we have the perfect environment for humans. So who has the right to say that we aren't just in one big ant farm that was specially made for humans, with one even bigger ant farmer, and the farmer being on a greater plane of consciousness? As the dictionary says, consciousness is a state of being awake and aware of one's surroundings. So in that case, you could argue that dogs are conscious. They are indeed aware of their surroundings and are awake, but they don't understand their surroundings. A dog will never be able to understand nuclear fusion or how quantum mechanics works, but they know some things, like how to get food, how to find water, and the list goes on. But a dog will never be able to understand love, or understand any other complex emotion. Maybe we are just dogs, thinking we know it all, but when in reality, we have only scratched the surface of understanding. Now, you could probably argue that what I'm saying is a form of philosophy, and while you may be correct, it's more than just, oh, well, guess I don't exist. It's a question to think about, a question to ponder, a question that gives more questions and less answers. While you nor I will never know if we are correct about anything until it's too late, aka death, we can have peace in knowing that no matter what you think of this topic, there's something, and you are something, and something is a mystery. And you are one of the greatest mysteries in the entire universe. Science still has yet to understand the slightest idea of understanding or consciousness or why the heck we're even here. Okay, let me calm down. But my point is that it can be incredibly hard to know anything for certain because someone smarter than you has already questioned it. Alright, bam! Part 1 finished. Mentally drained yet? Well, now get ready for part 2. So, right, the simulation and why it exists. Okay, so one of the first questions that you may have is why the simulation is even a thing, or why it even exists. Why would something even make this? And for the answer, we have to look back at what I said previously, back to dogs. So, while dogs won't understand every emotion, they do understand some. And one of those sums is happiness and curiosity. Let's start with happiness first. So, we experience happiness, and so do dogs, using a chemical in our brains known as dopamine. Sound familiar? So maybe, let's call him the great creator for the name of the being that made and is watching the simulation. So the great creator has probably made the simulation for one of three things. One being he is simply bored and wanted to make something, or he is watching it for simple enjoyment, just like how we fat little humans do over football. Or we just don't know. We have no idea why he would be watching it, or even if he is, or if he even has eyes or understands seeing. Okay, got that? So the other emotion that we and dogs, and assumingly the great creator, feels is curiosity. He could have made it just to be curious, see how it goes, see how long it goes, and he will wipe the hard drive every few million years. So, anyways, right. If we are an AI simulation, why are we even in the simulation? One guess being that planets could be the littlest thing used in a computer. One guess is that the planets could just be little parts of a great supercomputer. Well, we can't fully understand how would this be useful. For example, if you were to give a 2 terabyte NVMe drive to a guy 30 years ago, he would probably crap his pants trying to wrap his hand around how to even use it. So we could be being used right now in a large storage center. Or we could just be another AI that somehow gained consciousness, figured out what it is, and discovered what it is that it's made of. Okay, has your brain had enough? Well, if so, womp womp, because it's not the end of the video. Part 3 starts now. Okay, we as humanity have already sort of begun to become great creators of ourselves. We have created artificial intelligence. We have given artificial intelligence legs and arms. I'm referring to Tesla bots. If they ever do come out and are able to be the thing that they are expected to. We will have given an AI what we have. Now, all we would need is to give the AI a conscious and understanding of how to adapt, survive, and work in a community, and you have an artificial human, just like us. But what if, say, we just had a bunch of consciouses in a small simulation trying to survive with things like temperature difference and maybe other weaker consciousnesses that have resources that the main AI consciousness can use? Now that sounds like a simulation if I've ever heard of one. It's just crazy how fast AI has evolved. But to be fair, I could be completely wrong here. I have no degrees in philosophy or artificial intelligence by any means. So I am just as qualified to say this as a drunk chimpanzee with a typewriter would. But anyways, hope you have an existential crisis just like I did. Peace!